Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Critical Weight Theory. Today we're going to be talking about the odds of survival, and it's seemingly a good topic for the new year because every new year that arrives, it seems there's talk of, humanity, nature, and the chaotic world around us possibly doing us in one way or the other. We're just perpetually doomed to face a looming doomsday. And I think 2025 is no exception. So I'm going to be looking at the issue, of can we survive for much longer as a species? And setting the stage for that, of course, is a series of atmospheric and intriguing events that I'm not really going to get too specific into, but they do involve, a lot of current events going on that seem to be chaotic and destructive and potentially providing some doomsday scenarios. But I'm not going to get too much into that, like I said. So, welcome to the critical weight theory again. And we're going to apply our survival lens on this occasion. I'm going to explore the fascinating interplay between humanity, nature, and the universe, and the process of, wondering how doomed we actually are. So we're diving deep into the intertwined topics of the intricate ecosystems that live within and around us. Yes, I'm gonna sort of use the human body as an analogy, and that's kind of fascinating. But it's going to remind us of just how connected we are with the universe around us. We're actually a part of nature. I know that we're basically trained to see ourselves as separate from it, but at the end of the day, we're actually a part of our surroundings. I know, what a fanciful concept. It almost makes you sound like a dumbass hippie or something to say that, but you know what? It's actually true. It's actually true. And we're also going to look at the factors shaping the odds of humanity's survival in the next millennium in a hopefully fun way. Woohoo! Yippee! Get out your party hats and all that crap. We're going to have a fun time blasting off into the continuation of this uh, monstrosity that we call life. So, you know, I'm not going to try to sound pessimistic the entire time. But, and in fact, I do have sort of an optimistic edge to this episode. So, I don't want to ward people off thinking, oh man, this guy's just going to be a doomer or whatever the entire time. No, I'm going to try to look at all different perspectives kind of objectively. I'm not going to try to be bogged down by my emotions on this little quest. So think about it. Like I hinted at just a little bit ago, there are trillions of microbes that coexist with us, and there are also chaotic patterns of weather and the existential threats that we face. So, this episode is about understanding the world we navigate and what it means for our future. So, the first segment is one of those odd ones because I'm going to be talking about those microbial marvels. The fact is that often when we think about, you know, uh, uh, our bodies, we don't think about these little uh, microbes and whatnot that are a part of us. But we're almost like walking, bubbling laboratories, as gross as that sounds, but it's true. So let's start with the smallest yet perhaps the most impactful community on Earth, our microbiome. Did you know that the human body contains over 30 million species of microbes? That's right, bacteria, fungi, and viruses inhabit every inch of us, outnumbering our own cells tenfold. Some cause harm, but many are actually essential for survival. They aid in digestion, strengthen immunity, and even influence our mood. Now, I'm no scientist, so I didn't really like gather up all of those details, and I don't have them all memorized in my tiny little noggin. But at the end of the day, that is a fact, and you can look into that stuff yourself. It's one of the interesting things about life. So that's really if you think about it, it's like a broader context of even daily mundane existence. While you're doing whatever it is you do, you've got all these little bacteria that you're carrying around. They're having their own little lives, I guess, in a manner of speaking. So the current estimate, from what I've gathered, is that humans have about 10 trillion human cells and about 100 trillion bacterial cells. And that's according to somebody at the NIH, or the National Institute of Health. These microbes evolve rapidly. Excuse me. Hundreds of new species are discovered, um, you know, here and there. I don't know if it's daily, but they're definitely discovered. And some pose risks while others hold potential cures. Our understanding of these tiny organisms is shaping medicine, agriculture, and in some cases, even possibly climate solutions. So if you think about that, it's like we're our own little universe or something like that, with all these little, I guess, bugs, you could call them crawling around. So that kind of gives you an idea of just how big the universe is, because even you are almost like your own universe, and you're having these living things as a part of you. So that's kind of crazy. It's gross, but it's kind of crazy. Well, everything about life is kind of gross, though, if you really think about it. Even in the best case scenario, I mean, it's gross, potentially depressing, even. But what can you do? It's what organic life is about. Gross things happening pretty much all the time. So on that note, I'm gonna get into segment two, which is the chaotic world of forecasting, because that's a little bit what this episode is about too. We're looking at the big picture, but also, I guess, sort of narrowing in on details about the universe in order to analyze to what extent we can predict the future. And I suppose that would include our own futures too, individually. So, just like a thunderstorm rolling in, you get rain softly pattering and the lightning strikes and all that kind of stuff. It all seems random, yet at the end of the day, there is a detectable pattern in everything. There's some cause and effect going on, and that's another part of what's fascinating about all of this. We call things random really because we do not properly or fully understand them. Random is a relative term if you think about it. It doesn't mean anything is truly 100% random, right? It just means we don't fully understand it. So yeah, again, it's a relative term. So the world we live in is as chaotic as it is fascinating. So let's talk about something we all check regularly, the weather forecast. Well, unless you live in a rock, then, or under a rock, not in a, well, if I guess if you did live in a rock, you probably wouldn't look at the weather forecast on the Weather Channel or on a social media app or anything like that. But most of us definitely do this, to hope that we can properly understand what the what the coming days and weeks are going to do for us weather-wise. So have you ever wondered why forecasts change so often? And weather predictions rely on dynamic models. That's why they change. It's not just because the weatherman or weatherwoman is a dumbass, although I suppose sometimes they can They can be just like anyone else. But, at the end of the day, they're relying on weather models, which can be flawed, and small changes in atmospheric data can ripple through systems like the butterfly effect. If you were to ask a forecaster about that, they might not even use the term butterfly effect, but pretty much the same idea as all these little changes creating a big change that can be unpredictable at times. You've got factors like temperature, humidity, and wind creating an intricate dance in the skies, you could say poetically. And our tools and models are better than ever, but the sheer complexity means forecasts can shift from a 0% to a 20% chance of rain in hours, and that can be frustrating and it can make the weather forecast seem meaningless. And you just have to make do with it. You have to remember that sometimes the forecast is accurate. And it's a reminder that the world is ever changing, nature is changing, our planet and our place within it is changing as well. So, okay, that is a way to remind us that humanity in the next 1,000 years or so might not be entirely easy to predict. I mean, with the way some things are going, it seems like we could devolve into grunting cavemen or something like that. But maybe it'll be different from that. And another perspective is maybe we should sort of devolve or go backwards in time, at least in certain ways, and become less dependent on technology and all that stuff. And of course, one of the ironies of saying that is I'm talking into a laptop microphone right now. So it's a little bit odd to almost paraphrase a Ted Kaczynski philosophy or whatever when I'm talking into a microphone on a computer and, talking to a mass or a potentially mass audience. Well, I don't have that many viewers or listeners or whatever, but, hypothetically speaking, I am participating in a mass media environment. And, you've got, in addition to wondering how humanity is going to develop or blossom or fall apart in the next 1,000 years, there's another big question. How likely is it that humanity will even exist 1,000 years from now? And that's where we get into the whole survival component. So it's of course a daunting thought, but not an impossible one, as we face existential risks from climate change to nuclear weapons and artificial intelligence that could wipe us all out like the Terminator movies. Our choices today shape our odds tomorrow. It seems we're always on the precipice, and we've never been more powerful, yet never more vulnerable. So, I don't want to make this a really long podcast episode, so I'm going to just break down some of the key factors nice and quick for you. So, you've got the aforementioned environmental changes. Can we combat things like climate change, biodiversity loss, and dwindling resources in time to sort of reverse course? Then you've got the related issues of scientific and technological progress. Could advances in biotechnology and space exploration ensure survival in some way? Then, of course, are cosmic threats. Rare events like asteroid impacts are threats. But we're at least supposedly improving our defenses. Now, I'm a little bit skeptical of those claims that, we're going to successfully counter an asteroid. But, I suppose maybe somebody's working on it. I don't know. I don't know if we've ever had that much of a resource pool for addressing those things. I mean, I think we're too busy like bombing each other and, shooting at each other and starving each other and putting each other in prisons and doing stupid crap. Um, I don't know if our best and brightest are really on that sort of job, you know. I don't think our priorities are necessarily in the right place. Um, and of course, there's a competing view anyway that, maybe we should let that asteroid or comet or whatever the hell just strike us and take us out like the dinosaurs. You know, it's considered a bleak worldview, but I guess if it's painless, um, you know, I I guess that could be a positive aspect of it. I mean, I often think about, as bleak and morbid as this could be, sometimes I think about, if the scenario did happen. I happen to live by Lake Superior, which is a pretty large body of water. Like, what if there was a massive tsunami and I could look up and be like, wow, look at that mighty tower of water. Just like, who knows how large it could be? It might be like 100 feet up in the air or larger. I mean, no matter how you actually feel about it, like right now, hypothetically, if that was to happen, I think you'd be kind of amazed and impressed. I mean, you'd probably be panicked or dumbfounded, but you know, you might not have enough time to even properly process the experience. And I know that, yes, Tool wrote a song about that called Anima, and that's based on the comedy stylings of Bill Hicks. But, I don't think they invented this sort of thought. You know what I mean? I think this has been one of those long standing, not just fears, but, just topics that have crossed people's minds like ever since we learned about the dinosaurs. It was quite an idea to think about those terrible thunder lizards getting wiped out by natural forces, uh, an asteroid or a comet or whatever the hell they're called, shooting into the planet and just wiping those mighty lizards out. That was quite a thing to learn about in school, and it's just one of those things that's going to captivate people down the ages, much like dinosaurs themselves do. Well, anyway, not to get sidetracked too much talking about dinosaurs now. There's also socio-political stability that's an issue here. So cooperation and reducing inequalities are essential for longevity. And guess what's happening right now? There's a lot of rejection of the idea of cooperation and reducing inequality, and therefore it could reduce longevity of the human species. So, as much as I would like to play some hopeful music right now and, have it build up into a crescendo and say, oh, everything's going to be all right, I just don't necessarily see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to sound too negative, but at the end of the day, I mean, uh, what exactly is there to be that positive about it? I mean, there's a such thing as saying things that sound pessimistic without necessarily even being a pessimist yourself. I mean, sometimes you're just like reading the room, like, or reading the headlines, I suppose. And that's of course you could always look at the world around you and have disgust over the events and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you're in the modern era, which is what I would technically call what we're in, or maybe the postmodern era. But if you're in this time, if you're in 2025, and you look around you and you see that not enough has really changed since, I don't know, 1925 or maybe even 1825, I mean, where does that really leave you? What can you even, what are we even talking about at a certain point, you know? But I do want to try to be positive here. So the good news is that humanity is incredibly adaptable. That is true. And even those damn pessimists cannot take that away. You know, humanity, like practically every other animal, although animals do go extinct, but like most animals, they're adaptable. It's just a matter of, you know, can we adapt to these changes that are inevitable? So, we're doing things like creating vaccines, exploring Mars, etc., etc. So it seems like our ingenuity knows no bounds. But what do you know? You got people like RFK Jr. coming along and telling us that, oh, vaccines are bad. Maybe our kids should get polio. You know, May, maybe we should wipe our kids out like the peasants of yore. And it's I guess it's a sign of progress that we have people like this suddenly sweeping into power. I'm being sarcastic, of course. So, while precise probabilities of survival are hard to pin down, it seems like the experts could agree that with the right strategies, humanity's survival is likely for at least another 1,000 years. So, I don't know if you want to call that optimism or pessimism or somewhere in between. It might just be the objective uh, likelihood instead of fact, because you can't really say it's a fact because it's a prediction. It's like a loose fitting prediction, and it involves a lot of ever changing data. So really anybody who's going to try to predict survivability against like nuclear catastrophe, they're going to be in trouble because it's hard to say, how much are we like the proverbial cockroach. How adaptable would we be to a situation like that? So, looking to the future, you know, it's not all just going to be like bird songs and a gentle stream. You're not going to necessarily always be able to sit on a hammock and, you know, just sway back and forth, relaxing to the gentle breeze. There's still going to be crazy stuff happening out there that'll jar your senses and maybe even kill you. I mean, not you necessarily. I just mean you as in people. You know, the wonderful thing, the wonderful thing about people is that they are interchangeable. So I could be talking about you. I could be talking about a general audience because I don't know who you are. I'm talking to whoever is listening to this at the moment, and maybe I lost listeners. Maybe you can't even tolerate this message that I'm spreading here. I don't know, but I know that my job here is not just to spread cheer, nor do I want to merely spread despair. I'm not like a Johnny Appleseed, like spreading sorrow seeds or whatever, or happiness seeds either. I'm not doing that necessarily. I just want to get people thinking about the future. So, as I start to shut up here, I want you to consider the humble plant. Plants not only clean out the air, but they also purify water, protect against pests, and they provide beauty. They're a symbol of resilience and interconnection. So, next time you're outdoors, take a moment to appreciate the life forms around you, both seen and unseen. From the microbes to the megastructures, they all play a role in the tapestry of existence. Ooh. So, thank you for joining me on this hopefully not too pessimistic journey through the micro and macro lenses of survival. So, stay curious, stay informed, and remember our choices today determine our tomorrow. And that's assuming that tomorrow even comes. So, until next time, um, just do what you can to survive, I guess, within reason. And Yeah, just don't do it around me.